I have here with me Sergeant John Kessler and Sergeant Matt Bruckbacher. This is Nichelle. I have a problem with her name. Nichelle and her stepfather, Jeffrey. There were two other people who were involved that chose not to come forward. They wanted to remain in the background, and we're honoring that request. I would tell you that their contributions to this incident actually mitigated what happened, and please, if you can in some way, acknowledge that their contributions are appreciated, even though they choose to remain in the background. At about 6:25 last night, Mr. Lovato was driving his Kia Rio eastbound on Exposition Avenue. And his account of what occurred is he's driving at about 30 miles an hour, and all of a sudden people appear in front of him. He brakes, but is not able to avoid colliding with the adult female and the toddler. The toddler was being carried by the mother. As a result of that, the mother and the toddler went underneath the Rio and became pinned underneath the car. One of those people that I spoke of previously that wanted to remain unnamed, a female witness, ran to the Walmart store to call for help. As she was approaching the store, Sergeant Kessler was exiting the store. Sergeant Kessler was at Walmart, and he can address it further, but my understanding is he was at Walmart working an off-duty job. So he was in uniform, dressed similarly as he is today, but working in an off-duty capacity, security for Walmart during the Christmas season. Sergeant Kessler is advised by this witness of what happened. He immediately responds to the scene. Shortly thereafter, Sergeant Bruckbacher arrives. Mr. Simpson's on scene, and the other unnamed Good Samaritan is on scene. They recognize the situation for what it is. The four men reach down, pick up the car. One of the officers, you'll have to ask which one because I'm not sure, says on the count of three, we lift. 1, 2, 3, lift. They lift the car up. Sergeant Kessler removes the toddler from the mother, who's still in the grasp of the mother, hands the toddler off to a female. He will tell you he doesn't know who that female is. Somehow that toddler winds up in Nichelle's arms, and Nichelle cares for the toddler until medical personnel arrive. Sergeant Kessler then assists the driver of the car, Mr. Lovato, in pulling the adult female out from underneath the car. And then the car is set back down. And I believe they counted 3 before they set the car back down, to ensure that, that they weren't putting the car back down on somebody's foot or something like that. Medical arrives, and the 3 children are all transported to a local hospital. The mother's transported to another hospital. The latest information I have is that the mother is awake and conscious. She has some significant broken bones, cracked ribs, a bruised liver, some internal bleeding, and a concussion. While they are serious injuries, she is expected to survive. Thank God. Like I said, the baby, what I had last night was the baby had some lacerations. Late last night I learned that the baby, along with the lacerations and abrasions, also had some burns, obviously from the exhaust of the vehicle that caused burns on the baby. And again, I'll determine this afternoon, figure out, is the baby in the hospital or the baby out? We'll try to track that down and I'll let you know.
Tell us, you were working off-duty but in uniform. What was your first thought as you went out to see what was going on out there and realized there were people under the car?
Well, I was working off-duty at the Walmart. I heard the call get dispatched to patrol of an auto-pedestrain accident at Exposition in Abilene. So I walked out of the store to see if I could see the intersection, to see the accident. As I did, a lady come running up to me, told me there was a lady pinned underneath the car, and she pointed more towards the east from the intersection. So I wasn't sure at first if there was 2 incidents or just the one. She directed me back to the parking lot area. I ran through the parking lot and then saw the car actually out in the street finally when I got there.
What was your first action? I mean, you realized if you move people, they might be injured worse, or what did you?
When I first got there, I ran down to the car. The lady was on her side, had the baby wrapped up in her arms, kind of holding her down. I went to the baby, she was crying. I tried to remove the infant from the lady's arms, but she was pinned under. I couldn't move her at that point. I could hear the sirens coming. I actually saw the marked car with Sergeant Bruckbacher coming at me as I got there, so I knew help was pretty close at that point. I just kind of hold the baby, try comforting the baby at that point, since I couldn't move her by myself at all.
Sergeant Bruckbacher, were you second on scene? You wanted to pick it up there? I mean, you jumped out of your vehicle. It's obviously made a quick assessment of what's going on. What happened then?
Yes, sir. Sergeant Kessler was down tending to the victims at that point in time. And I had a lot of citizens around. And once I got there and looked, both parties were very well trapped under the car. And I figured if we didn't get the car off them immediately, there would be some issues with breathing, and I don't know if they'd survive. So kind of hollered to some of the folks around, and I said, hey, let's get this car up. Did a count of 3, and actually as soon as I said that, I just had a bunch of citizens coming in. I mean, it was amazing, the amount of response I got from the people standing by. And we lifted that car like it was nothing. I mean, it went up almost all the way up, and we were able to hold it there. Sergeant Kessler was able to get the infant out first, and then I was kind of coordinating with someone else. I think there was another bystander that I was asking to pull the female out far enough so we could put the car back down. And then once we got the car back down, I tended to the adult while Sergeant Kessler was dealing with the infant until rescue got on scene, and then I kind of backed off and started doing my other job of just trying to preserve the scene. So, but these guys, I mean, there's no way I would have been able to do that myself. I mean, these guys are the heroes by far.
Simpson, you want to weigh in here a little bit with us and tell us your names and so forth?
Sure. I'm Jeff, and this is my stepdaughter,
Nichelle.
Michelle.
Were you all together? Tell us what you did. What went through your minds and what you all did?
Well, it started off, we were coming through the parking lot of Walmart, and Nichelle saw, tell me what you saw.
I thought I seen like somebody sitting on the ground or laying down, but I really didn't know. And he asked me, he said, do you want to stop? Do you want to check it out? And I was like, no, maybe somebody's just sitting down. And then we go to park, we find a parking spot, then we go to park.
That's when we saw Sergeant Kessler running down the parking lot towards the street. So when we parked, we just said, well, let's go down there and see what's going on. And it was horrific. The woman was under the car with her baby. And so everybody just, you know, after, your name again?
Sergeant Brookbacher.
Sergeant Brookbacher, you know, he was like, hey, let's do this, man. And counted to 3, and we got the car up off of the woman and the baby, and we lowered the car. I turned around looking for my stepdaughter, and the baby was in her arms, so I was like, oh my God. And you take it from there.
Yeah, some lady, I don't really know who she was, but she wanted to cover the baby, so she asked me to take off my hoodie. So I took off my hoodie and I covered the baby with it, just so like she wasn't cold or anything. And then the lady hands me the baby, and then she just took off, and I didn't know where she went. And then I'm like just sitting there with the baby, and I'm like trying to talk to her, make sure that she's okay. And
Yeah, she was comforting her.
breathing.
So I came back, and she was on one side of the baby, and I was on the other side, and we were just talking to her. She was conscious, and she was just looking back and forth at both of us. And you know, I didn't notice the scar on her head until I went to rub her hair, and Michelle said, oh, she has a scar on her head, you know, and then I was like, whoa. And then on the side of her face was pretty scratched up,
Jeff,
pretty bad.
just talk about what it was like for you guys, being at the right place at the right time to help out like that.
It was definitely a blessing to be there at the right time. It wasn't even a thought. It was like, you know, we have to help. I mean, and especially with the guidance of the officers behind us, we're here to help, you know, and that's all it was about, just helping and making sure that we can do whatever we can do to help.
The officer described what it was like when they lifted up the car. I want to hear it from you.
Oh yeah, it was real. It was light because the adrenaline. You know, everybody was just like, oh my God. So he counted to 3, and we just got the car right up off her, and I believe it was the driver that pulled the mom and the baby from up under the car. I'm not sure, but I know we had the car up, and I just saw her legs being dragged away from up under the car. But it was pretty awesome to be a part of that.
There's still
Amazing.
alive in the hospital. We're told
Yeah.
most of the kids have gone home, although the little baby might still be in there again for a while. Mom had a head injury,
Oh,
broken
yeah.
bones and liver lacerations and stuff, but it sounds like she's in steady condition and improving.
Yes, and we called the hospitals last night to try to find out, but we couldn't get any information. they wouldn't release any information to us. And we didn't know any names, so we just talked about where the accident happened. But it was really good to see, because when the mom was pulled up from up under the car, it didn't look like she was breathing, but then she got a gasp of air, and it's like, oh, she's breathing, and that was a good feeling to see and to just, it was really a good feeling.
Did she say anything to you guys?
She didn't say a word. She was just gasping for air.
And what about the two other children? There were two other children that were crossing with her while she had the baby in her arms.
The kids didn't say a word. They were just in shock. Yeah, everybody was in shock.
How many people do you think were lifted this car?
I know, I was standing right next to you.
Honestly, I didn't look, I just
Come on, I'm sorry, every
sorry.
time somebody's gotta speak, they gotta speak to the
I'm
mic,
sorry.
unfortunately.
I honestly didn't look, I just said, let's get this car up, counted to 3, and I just started to lift, and
Yeah.
I know he was there, and I think I had maybe a couple more, but honestly, I don't recall.
Was there ever a moment that you're thinking, we're not gonna be able to lift this car? I mean, it's a car, I mean, it's not like a.
It was a pretty small car.
I know, but it's not-
It was, but he's exactly right. The adrenaline kicks in, and at that moment, I had 2 people that were possibly going to die. I wasn't going to let that happen with me just standing there, waiting for somebody else to do what I could do. So it was time to step up, and we got the job done. I mean, that was it. It was going to happen, whether or not we had to have 50 people or 5, it was going to get done.
This is not the thing you train for every day, but training certainly keeps you able to keep a calm head, realize you gotta take some kind of action.
Yeah, it was funny. After the event, I was trying to piece together to do my report, everything that happened, and I certainly definitely got some tunnel vision going on, because all I saw was the car and the people, and I probably wasn't paying as good of attention to the rest of the scene as I needed to be at that moment, but, happy endings, and that's really all I cared about at that point in time, was trying to save some people and help solve the problem,
How'd you sleep last night?
like a baby.
Anybody sore from picking up that car?
No, I'm not.
No, I'm all right.
It went right up. It was like,
I'm all right.
You work out? Can you tell us what you bench?
I do work out, but I honestly don't know what I bench these days, so.
Apparently you can lift the car, though.
right?
Well, with help. I certainly didn't do it by myself. I had help.
And to talk about, Chuck mentioned a few minutes ago how important it was that all these good Samaritans stepped forward to help. You guys were among them, but there were other people too, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear from you guys what it meant to you guys on the scene, since you were the first ones there, having everybody else help so that this ended the way it did and not some other way.
Well, I guess,
ahead, John.
I'm sorry. I guess one of the big things was that there was 3 children. There was the female and then the 2 twin boys. And when I removed the girl out beneath the car, there was a woman there immediately who took the little girl from me and laid her over in the grass. And then they helped pull the mom out and got her on the sidewalk. I was able to go to the twin boys, start dealing with them. There was plenty of people holding the boys, talking to them, keeping them together. And like I said, the woman was with the little girl, and then she was there and helped with the cover on the little girl to keep her warm. There was people helping out everywhere. It was amazing. There was people just standing around looking, and everybody was trying to help out the best they could.
And it's not like anybody wanted credit for it, because they don't even want us to know. That
Yeah, several people, there were people everywhere. I mean, there must have been, when I ran up there was probably, I'm guessing 10 people around. And after I got down with the baby, I'm not sure where everybody went. But all of a sudden looked up when fire department got there, and most of them had gone. They had all kind of just wandered off, and none of them took credit for anything. Everybody was just really helpful.
Was there an expectation that this was gonna end a little differently, based upon what you initially saw? And
When I initially got there and saw the condition, it definitely, I'm very thankful she survived. It was not, it was a pretty bad accident.
how many years of police experience do we have here?
I'm starting my 17th next year.
Sorry?
12 years.
In either of you, and it's a lot of time on the streets. You come across anything ever like this, the interaction with the public, just helping you guys out when something like this happens?
Not off the top of my head. I've had lots of instances where citizens have helped out, the public's been there to give us a hand, but nothing off the top of my head that I can recall.
No, the only thing I can think of is actually, strangely enough, early in the evening, I was up at Walmart dealing with a shoplifter with a couple of the patrol officers, and I was by myself with the suspect. My guys were chasing after somebody else, and this guy just came up and said, "Hey, are you okay? Do you need any help?" Because I was just there by myself, and that was surprising to me. Because normally, people look, but taking action isn't necessarily the first thought, and I was really surprised by that. But nothing to the caliber of what occurred last night. I mean, I've had citizens help, but they were almost knocking each other over to get in there and do something. They wanted to do something. They didn't want to just watch.
Jeff, just a moment ago, you had said that this was a blessing to be a part of that. Do you mind telling me that again, so you had some more time?
It was a blessing just because we helped save injured people. We helped people that were in need, and it's just a blessing to be able to give back, or just to be a part of something like that.
What does it mean to you? Just
Well,
as a person, to be able to, I mean, we all sort of wonder what we would do in those kind of situations and hope that we'd help out and hope that we'd kind of assist, but you guys did it last night.
it means a lot. I would just want somebody else to do that if I was in that position, or just anywhere, because we're here together, so we might as well help each other, and any way we can, and everything is a lesson, and in lessons like last night, my stepdaughter learned a lot, just seeing people come together and being a part of that coming together. So.
Do you ever think, like, we almost didn't stop? We almost just went straight to the store?
Yeah, we almost did. But when she said, anytime we talk, I'm always like, with the way she said it, it's like, well, I listen to what she's saying. And so my first response was, well, what do you want to do? Should we call the police, or should we go see what's going on? Because she didn't know if they were sitting on the curb, or when we got there, it was a whole, totally different story. But we were going to call the police because we saw the lady running up to the sergeant, and when I saw him run by us, we knew something was going on, so we just went down to see what was going on and to help out. Yeah. Actually, I went down there, I was just going to take pictures until we saw the severity of the things, so.
Lended a helping hand. And just,
Yeah.
I guess, your thoughts that it's December, and because of all of you guys and the others that aren't here today.
Yeah, there was a couple
that
more,
family
too.
has a Christmas to celebrate.
Yep. Praise God. Yeah.
Can we get your last names?
I'm Simpson.
And I'm Gibson.
Gibson?
Yes.
Gibson and Simpson.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you guys.
Thank you all very
Thank you.
much. Sergeants,
Thank you.
thanks for coming in way early on your
Let me
night
ask,
shift.
let me ask a quick question of Michelle. When they first placed that baby in your arms, did you realize that it was injured to the extent that it was?
No, I had my hoodie over her legs, so I really didn't see her legs, but then I didn't really notice her face, how it had scratches and everything on it. I really didn't notice it until he went to go and rub her head, and then I looked and I was like, wait, she has a scratch on her head, and it was, and then yeah, it was kind of deep, and I just didn't want her to get hurt or anything, so.
Was she crying?
No, she wasn't saying anything. She wasn't crying. She wasn't making any sounds, but she was breathing, and she was just kind of looking around. She kept looking back at me and him when he was sitting on the other side of her. And she wouldn't say anything. I was trying to talk to her, maybe to get
Some kind of response.
yeah, I was hoping to get some type of response from a little kid, but that wasn't the case. She just kind of looked at me and, yeah.
And your reaction once you found out that it sounds like they're gonna be okay?
I'm really happy that they're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want, like you said, it's almost Christmas, and that would be horrible to lose a family member right before Christmas, so I was just really happy that they're gonna be okay.
Thanks for everything that you guys did, everybody.
How old are you? How old are you?
I'm 16.
Okay, so you got 27 years, 29 years of police experience behind you. On this
Just knowing that we possibly did help the little girl and her mom, it's a nice feeling to know that they're gonna be okay. And now that I know that they're okay, I can be happy and, yeah.